Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at finding solutions from the table on the graphing calculator. So that's why my screen looks like this on the right. So I am going to ask you to please download a free app that will replace the graphing calculator that I can't give you since we're remote. You can download this in the Apple Store. It'll look like this, and this is what it'll look like in the Google Play Store. It's totally free. This is the app I'm going to be using in the next few lessons. So to pause the video, download that, and then we'll continue. Okay, so if you are unable to download this app, you can use a website instead. This is called the Desmos Graphing Calculator. You can go to desmos.com or you can Google Desmos Graphing Calculator. We're going to be using this feature here. It's the y equals feature, and then we're going to be mostly looking at the table today. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions on that. Let's get started. So we're going to do a little bit of review here. You're probably sick of being asked to find the zeros and the MAM strategy, but just to remind you how to do this, we are trying to multiply to negative 30, and we are trying to add to negative 13. Now the two numbers that worked were negative 15 and 2, because negative 15 times 2 is negative 30, and negative 15 plus 2 is negative 13. So that works. So we take these two numbers and we put them in our factors. And then we're going to be asked to solve for x to find the actual zeros here. This equals 0 applies to both of these factors like we saw in the last slide. So I'm going to do x minus 15 equals 0. What's the opposite of minus 15? Plus 15, using inverse operations, and because I'm using inverse operations, I end up switching the sign from my factor to my 0, and I get positive 15. So if I'm just switching the sign here, what would be the 0 for this factor? That's negative 2. So my answers are 15 and negative 2. This is how you solve this by hand. It's tough because of this whole guessing part here. I'm going to show you a life hack that involves the graphing calculator. This is the same problem from the last slide. I already know my answer, 15 and negative 2. And I'm going to show you an easier way to do this. So open up that graphing calculator app, and we're going to hit the y equals button. I'm going to type in this trinomial. F of x equals is the same thing as y equals. It would also work if I had a 0 here. They all mean the same thing. So I'm going to find my x button. It's right next to the green alpha button. So x, and then my squared button is right here. Minus 13x minus 30. Now I want to get the table for this. If you look on this calculator, there's tons of buttons, and my table button is right here, but if I just push the button, I'm going to get the graph. You can pinch in and out to zoom in. I don't actually want the graph, I want the table. So on the bottom right, I can hit close. And to get to that table feature, I have to hit the second button. Second, now the table word turns blue, and I can use all the blue features. So here I have the table of values. It looks kind of funky, but the table is actually x and y, even though it looks like a triangle table one. The blue values are your x values. I know my answers to this question are 15 and negative 2, and I can actually tell that from my table. So if I look at my first answer, where x is negative 2, I see that y is 0. Let's scroll down to when x is 15. Do you notice anything about the y values where my answers are? So these numbers, 15 and negative 2, are my solutions because these are the x values when y equals 0. That is how you solve these using a table. Much easier than doing this by hand. What a mess. I could just look at my table. Let's do another one. This one doesn't say zeros, it says find the roots. It's the same thing, and I don't see a y equals or f of x equals. I see an equals 0. That's fine, that's the same thing. So I'm going to hit my y equals button. I'm going to hit clear, and I'm going to type in this expression, 4x squared minus 100. I hit second table. And I'm looking to see where y is 0. I have really big numbers here, so I'm actually gonna go ahead and scroll down. Oh, there's one. When y is 0, the x value is -5. Two choices include that number, so I can get rid of the ones that don't. And let's see if 5 is also a 0. What do you think? Is positive 5 also a solution? Yes, because when y is 0, I also see positive 5, so choice 3 is my answer. Let's do another one. This one is not multiple choice, but that's okay. It gives you a function. We've seen stuff like this before, and it says to use factoring. I'm going to show you a way to get around this. It's kind of like a cheat, but it's totally allowed and legal. We're looking for the zeros, so I type in x squared plus 3x minus 18. That's this right here. I hit second table, and I look for my zeros. What's the first 0 that you see here on the screen? Well, that's 3, because when y is 0, x is 3. Let's see if we can find another one. I'm going to scroll up. You'll notice that the numbers actually repeat, and that's a good sign. That means your 0 is going to be right around the corner, and there it is, -6. So if I just put the zeros, I get partial credit. Here's a little cheat I'm going to do. I'm going to pretend that I used factoring. Your factors were those parentheses, those bubbles. I'm just going to switch the sign. I know they both have x. And when I switch the signs, the opposite of positive 3 is -3. What is the other factor if my 0 is -6? It's going to be x plus 6. So even though I didn't actually use factoring, it looks like I did, and no one would know. This would be 2 points. For another 2 points, I want to explain what the zeros represent. That just sounds really complicated. Here's your go-to answer. 3 and -6 are the x values when, see if you can finish my sentence, when y equals 0. Okay, this one looks really funky. I wouldn't even be able to use my MAM strategy where we're at MAM, but that's okay, because I am going to use my new life hack here and put this in the calculator. So we hit the y equals button. I'm going to hit clear, and I'm going to type in exactly what I have here, this part. This just means y equals, which is built into the calculator. So parentheses, notice how my button gets darker when I push it, parentheses, x minus 3, close parentheses, and my squared button is right there, minus 49. I need to use the table, so I hit second table, and I'm looking for my zeros. You can even make yourself a little table here just to remind you. I'm looking for the 2 zeros. What is the first 0 on the screen here? It's -4. I'm going to scroll down to find the other one. My other 0 is 10. So I would get partial credit for having those 2 numbers on the paper, but when they say algebraically, they want you to have factor. So I'm going to take -4 and 10. I'm going to use a T-chart here. Put my x and x. What would my 2 factors be if I know I need to switch the signs? Well, the opposite of Negative 4 is positive 4. The opposite of positive 10 is negative 10. So it's said algebraically. It looks like I did it algebraically even though I used the calculator. Let's do another one. I want to put this right into the calculator, but oh no, it equals 28. I don't want this to equal 28. I want this to equal 0 or f of x, but in this case, 0. So I'm going to use an inverse operation to do that. I'm just going to recopy everything I have here. I want to get rid of a positive 28. How do you get rid of a positive 28? With a negative 28. So I'm going to do minus 28 on both sides. Here is another life hack. You don't actually have to do any math here. I'm just going to bring everything down. So 2x plus 2 squared. That's exactly what I had originally. Bring down the minus 4. And my new term here, minus 28, equals, and I cancel those out. 28 minus 28 is 0. So this is what I want. It equals 0. You could combine these two terms and get minus 32, but you don't have to. The calculator will do it for you. So hit y equals, clear out what you have, type this in exactly how you see it. Just like that. Any arithmetic or math, the calculator does it for you. And how do I get to the table? Which two buttons? Yes, I hit second graph or second table. And what is a 0 that you see on the screen? A resolution. That's right, positive 2. And let's look for the other one. What would that be? That's right, negative 6. So positive 2 and negative 6. My answer is choice 3. Why don't you try this one a little more on your own? Just a reminder, hit y equals, clear out what you have. You're going to type this into y equals, and then you're going to hit second graph, which is really table. See what you get. So here's how you do this one. X squared minus 5x minus 6, second table. I am looking for where y is 0. First one would be negative 1. And the other one is 6. So negative 1 and positive 6, that is choice 1. Okay, why don't you try this one on your own again? You're just typing this into y equals and hitting second graph. Okay, here's how you do this one. I typed in 2x squared minus 4x minus 6, second graph, looking for my 2 zeros. One of them is 3, the other one is negative 1. So positive 3, negative 1, right there, choice 1. Pretty easy, huh? Okay, this one looks a little bit different. If I have x to the third power, how many answers do you think I'm gonna have? I'm gonna have 3 answers. So choices 1 and 2 don't really work here. So I am going to go ahead and type this into y equals, and let me show you how to do an exponent of 3. So I type 2x, and then underneath the clear button, there's a little button called a caret. So the button looks like this. That's how you get an exponent. It gives you a little box on top of your x. You type in whatever exponent you want, and then you notice your little cursor is still up next to the 3. I want it to go back down so I can type my plus sign. So you use the right arrow right here above clear to go back down, and then you type the rest of the expression, plus 12x, and then minus 10 x squared. You could also do the caret button for a squared, but we have a squared button already done, so it doesn't really matter. So I hit second graph, and my 3 zeros are actually on the screen. Which choice should I go with? I'm going to go with choice 3 because one of my zeros is 0, the other one is 2, third one is 3. Let's do another one. I see that there's fractions, not a big deal. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the calculator, but oh no, this equals 8. What do I want this to equal? Has to equal 0. So I'm gonna recopy this and use an inverse operation. What do I do to set this equal to 0? Well, it's a positive 8, so I know I need to subtract 8. And whatever I do on one side, I must do to the other. Okay, so I bring down 1, 2, 3 terms. 3x squared plus 10x minus 8 equals 8 minus 8 is 0. So this is going to go in the calculator. Y equals, clear that out, 3x squared plus 10x minus 8. Not typing in equals 0 because it's implied. Hit second table, looking for a 0. Do you see the 0 on the screen? Yes, we see it right here. So one of my answers is -4. Now I'm going to look for the other 0, but I'm not going to find it. If it was going to be anywhere, it would be in between the negative and the positive number. The reason it's not there is because it would be a fraction, and I don't have fractions in my table. That would be a different setting. I don't need that fraction though. Which choice has -4 as a solution? It's only choice 1. The rest of them do not have it, so I can just circle choice 1 and I'm correct. Okay, let's do another one. They want you to find the zeros algebraically. That is not going to happen. We're going to use the calculator and pretend we did this algebraically. So go ahead, hit y equals, type that in, and what are the 2 zeros that you get? Here's how you do this. X squared plus 7x minus 8. Hit second graph. One of them pops up right away. It is 1, and the other one is -8. So I take those two, +1 and -8. I'm going to make my t-chart. What would my 2 factors be if my zeros are +1 and -8? Remember, we switched the signs. The opposite of +1 is -1. The opposite of -8 is +8. So this looks like I did it algebraically, even though I used the calculator. And that is how I get this correct the easier way. Let's do one more. I have x to the 3rd. That means I'm going to have 3 answers. I'm going to help you plug this in again. We type 3x, and then to get that exponent underneath the clear, you hit caret to the 3rd, hit the right arrow to go back down, plus 21x squared plus 36x. If you make a mistake, you can always hit clear or go behind whatever you want to delete and delete it. Hit second graph, and what are the 3 zeros that you get? So I can see one already, and here's the other ones. One of them is 0, one of them is -3, one of them is -4. What would my 3 factors be? Well, knowing that I have to switch the signs, I get x plus 3, x plus 4, and 0 doesn't have a sign. So I just put x. You can put an =0 to make it look even better. So So today we did zeros from a table. No more, ma'am. We have a trick for that. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our lesson. Hope you had a good time. Next time we're going to work with graphs.